One of the speakers tonight at the Republican National Convention, at the GOP convention, Abby Johnson, not only believes that her son, her adopted black son, deserves to be racially profiled, but that at the end of the day, women should lose their right to vote independent of their husbands. These are her viewpoints. Now, you heard her on stage tonight talk about how women being able to control their own bodies is a bad thing. I don't want to focus in on that because that's getting a lot of coverage. That was the subject of her speech. What's more important in a lot of ways is what she didn't talk about tonight, because the fact that they let a woman with these views on their stage shows what the Republican Party believes, or at the very least, what they're willing to tolerate as a front stage, as a center stage spokesperson for their party and their right of center ideology. That's crucial because earlier today, this woman named Marianne Mendoza was pulled from the schedule because she shared conspiracy theories related to Jewish Americans and to Jewish people, and she was pulled from the schedule. So the Republicans have noted that on a dime, they will pull people if they've said certain things. So they had the opportunity to pull Abby Johnson, and they chose not to. First, there was a video she tried to scrub from the internet, which had her talking about racial profiling and young men. And she says she has a unique perspective because she has 3 sons, 2 of which are biological and white, they're Caucasian, 1 of which is adopted and black, African American. And she says the police are right to treat her adopted son as a potential suspect, simply because of his skin color. She says right now he's a sweet little boy, but eventually he's going to be scary looking. That's basically what she said. And I'm going to read you an excerpt from that video that was captured by Vice and other sources. She says, statistically, I look at our prison population and I see that there is a disproportionately high number of African American males in our prison population for crimes, particularly violent crimes. So statistically, when a police officer sees a brown man like my Jude, that's her son's name, walking down the road as opposed to my white nerdy kids, my white nerdy men walking down the road, because of the statistics, he knows in his head that these police officers know in their head they're going to know that statistically my brown son is more likely to commit a violent offense over my white sons. So the fact that in his head he would be more careful around my brown son than my white son, that doesn't actually make me angry. That makes the police officer smart because of statistics. That's her gosh darn son. This is the person that she adopted, that she's supposed to treat no differently than her own biological children. And she is demanding that any smart, respectable police officer racially profile him and those like him. This is, first of all, the perfect rebuttal to anyone who ever tells you, I can't be discriminatory, I can't be prejudiced, I can't be racist or hateful. I have a black X, Y, or Z, or I have an Asian X, Y, or Z, husband, wife, child, whatever. You see it here. This lady has the ultimate card. I'm not discriminatory, I have a black son. But she is discriminatory, and it's toward her own black son. This is abhorrent politics here. It goes against everything that anyone should believe. Even within the conservative ideology of mothers unconditionally loving their sons, you can't tell me she loves him as much as she loves her other children. She can lie till the cows come home. She loves that son less, and in part, it's because he's black. No doubt in my mind. So there's that. But there's also the fact that even today, just as we are speaking, she's still ranting about it on Twitter. She supports the concept of household voting, of head of household voting, which is to say that every family gets 1 vote. And she specifies that the man's vote should take priority, at least in a godly home. What in effect she's saying is she wants to go back to a time more than 100 years ago, back to before the First World War, when one of the arguments against women's suffrage was that women had a political voice via the votes of their husbands. That was a vote for the family, and women were part of the family, ergo, women were voting through their husbands. No need to give them their own ballot. They already had 1 ballot through the family. And she's making that argument, and somebody brings it up here. I'm just going to read one excerpt because it's just a bunch of ranting on Twitter. She says, "You didn't say that you embraced head of household voting and that in the face of a conflict, the husband had the final word. Yes, I absolutely do. If a man is the head of the household, I said what I said." She would say in another place that, in any godly home, of course, the man should take priority. Basically, what she's saying is that unless a woman lives completely on her own, she should have no right to vote. That's basically what she's saying. Now, she's trying to cover that and saying, of course, I don't want to take away the votes of women, blah, 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 blah. But she's only saying that because she knows how bad this looks, let alone the eventual conclusion you can draw. So, one of the key speakers at this Republican convention, again, there's only so many slots to speak. There's only so many, couple dozen people that can speak at this convention. There's only so many of them. And who you put up there is a reflection of your party, a reflection of your ideology, a reflection of the previous 4 years, but also the next 4. And they chose to keep this woman on the schedule, knowing that she's discriminatory against her own son, and she wants to disenfranchise half the American population. When Larry Kudlow and Donald Trump are calling voting rights a far left wish list, believe them. If they can do it, they will have the support of millions of conservatives to take your rights away. We should stop them before it's too late.